Welcome to V is for Victory, a podcast about how small businesses overcome big battles. I'm your host, Jill Miller of Vera Creative, a boutique marketing firm in the Chicagoland area where I'm also a part-time professor of an advertising course. Join me as I talk with entrepreneurs about the challenges they face as well as their strategies for success. Hi everybody, welcome to episode 22 of V is for Victory. I am your host, Jill Miller. And today, again, it is just me. I thought I would talk to you guys a little bit today about what it's like starting a podcast. And the reason why I chose this topic is because I don't have a guest lined up. And I thought, oh, that's such a frustrating thing. But, turn lemons to lemonade. And here we are. I have something to talk to you about now. Just a little bit about the background and my approach to starting a podcast and the struggles and successes that I've had. I thought would be interesting to talk about because they really parallel what it's like owning a business. And again, this is coming from my experience and is a little bit more of my story. But so background. We were in lockdown and I was bored. And I think in the back of my mind, I had wanted to start a podcast, but I make decisions very quickly for myself. I don't spend a lot of time. When I like something, I go for it. And so what happened first was the original podcast was called The Batter, How Brands and Entrepreneurs Rise, the Ingredients to Success and the Recipes for Disaster. So that was the name of the original podcast. And it came to me, the name just, actually saw a picture of the podcast album cover, like that picture of batter. It was like cupcake batter or something. I saw the picture and then the title came to me. And I thought that would be a really cool theme and title and just way to talk to people and introduce people to entrepreneurship and what it's like to have the ingredients to success and to hear people's stories of recipes of disaster, because we all have them, and I think they're kind of funny, especially once you move past those hurdles and you look back on them. But so, do I love to bake? Like, did it come from my love of baking? No, I actually hate baking. I hate being precise with measurements, which you have to when you bake. So I like to cook, but don't like to bake. So it had nothing to do with that. So around this time last year, I contacted a good friend of mine, Sheila Peterson. She's been on this podcast twice now. And I said, hey, will you record a podcast with me? And many times, Sheila and I would get off the phone, or a client of mine and I would get off the phone, or a colleague from grad school and I would get off the phone, and we'd kind of say, hey, we should have recorded that because we talked strategy and we talked business and we talked life, and it just felt like something that should have been shared or more people could have heard. And so Sheila was my first call because we've had many conversations like that. And in the beginning, I had it structured. I don't know if it was maybe a lack of confidence or just experience in doing interviews. I don't come from a radio background or anything like that. And so I had questions lined up that really kind of spoke to that, how the brand achieves success, like I said, and what kind of things were hurdles or obstacles that got in the brand or the business owner's way. And so the first couple episodes, if you listen back, you can kind of hear me asking the same questions to my guests. And then I kind of quickly realized that I am better maybe on the fly, because there would be something that the guest would say and I would maybe want to interject or I'd want to expand on that, but I felt like I couldn't because I had these questions that I, was trying to get out. So for me, I tried a very structured approach to the conversation, and I found that it was just better to go with the flow, just start talking, just have it be a little bit more natural, a little bit more conversational, and see where things go. And what's safe about that, obviously, is you can always edit things out. But I'm proud to say that I've never edited out like an actual conversation or topic or anything like that with a client. We've pretty much aired, what you hear is what we said. We're not reorganizing content. We're not trying to come across in a certain way. And so for that, I respect all of my guests that I've had on so far, and their ability to be raw and authentic and to really share their experiences. And what I have found is that there's a lot of people who can't do that, or it makes them uncomfortable to do that. And so one of the biggest battles for me, if we're looking at, so now I didn't mind the name The Better, but it didn't have anything to do with Vera Creative. And then I recently trademarked Vera Creative, and I wanted to make sure that everything that I put out had that victory and Vera Creative, victory for brands type of feel. And so I actually put my students, the last semester that I taught at St. Xavier, I put my students up to the task of rebranding it, and they did excellent. They came up with V is for Victory and the tagline, how small businesses overcome big battles. And it was just so on point. And a really good example of how sometimes you're just too close to your own brand and your own business to be able to move it forward. And I come across that a lot when I work with clients. It's hard for clients to talk about themselves. Oftentimes I end up writing people's bios, people's about pages. A lot of times it's just so second nature what people do. And so they find it hard to maybe get technical or to maybe or the opposite, that they find it hard to simplify what it is they do for people, and they're just too close to the brand. And so a lot of what I do in marketing is just rewording. It's wordsmithing, and it's communication of who the brand is, why they're different, what sets them apart, what they offer, how that benefits the customer, because a lot of people are just, they know it, but they can't articulate it. And so that's kind of where I was at. I knew like what Vera Creative stands for. And if you've never heard this story, so Vera is a Sanskrit term. This is on my website, by the way, veracreative.com. But Sanskrit is Vera is a Sanskrit term, and it means warrior or hero. And I'm a yoga teacher, so that's the tie-in there. Yoga is often, the yoga poses have a Sanskrit name, which translate. So Vira Vajrasana, like warrior 1, or Vira Vajrasana 2, warrior 2. So Vira means warrior or hero, and so the word then creative is like this creative warrior, creative hero, creativity for brands, warrior, victorious, kind of this, idea of overcoming battles. So that's Vera Creative in a nutshell. And then again, V is for Victory, how small businesses overcome big battles. That's where we're at right now with the podcast. That's really just kind of nestles itself under the whole branding of Vera Creative much more cohesively than The Better. So that's why I switched names. Now, going back to one of the biggest surprises that I found is that I've reached out, I've probably had more no's about being on the podcast of people that I've asked than more yeses. And this comes from people I don't know and people I do know. And I guess like that kind of surprised me. I don't know why it shouldn't, because I know this just in marketing. Like I said earlier, it parallels my business in the sense that it can be hard. It can be hard to convince, quote unquote, people to hire you. It can be hard to convince, quote unquote, people to come on the show and to want to talk about themselves. And it can get vulnerable, or people think they have nothing interesting to say, or a lot of people just maybe simply don't have the time. I remember one business owner, somebody recommended that I reach out to this person. They would be great for the podcast. And so I reached out, and I did not hear back. And I'm not one to chase people down. Like, you either want the opportunity or you don't. You see value in it or you don't. And so I reached out one more time, and just in case the message got lost, I do understand that people are busy at the same time, but, and this person, I think the first thing they said was like, not even like a thank you for thinking of me or anything like that, just how long will it take? And, so I told them, I'd say by the time that we start recording, and then by the time we chat afterwards, there's usually a pretty long conversation after the podcast, just about how the podcast went, that we do edit out, or we shoot the breeze for a while. But so when all is said and done, it takes just over an hour, maybe like an hour and 15 to an hour and 20 minutes of the guest's time. And so I believe that I, conveyed that message, and I thought, this person doesn't know who I am. I'm a local business owner. They're a local business owner. Why don't I just go in there? So I went into the business, and I spent a little bit of money, and I took a picture of, what I bought, and I posted it to social media, and I tagged the business, and just crickets, nothing, no, they didn't bother liking the tag or liking the post or anything like that. And then I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, that person isn't a fit for this podcast. They value their time, which I can 100% respect. And they don't maybe see this as an opportunity, or maybe they do, and they don't want to put forth the energy for it. So that's just kind of one example. I've had people extremely close to me that I've asked twice that just completely ignore my requests, so that's very telling. But in business, again, you don't ever want to take anything personal. Usually everything people say and do is a result of themselves. And if you've never read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I seriously consider you reading it until it sinks in, because it's one of the most impactful books on planet Earth. I think this book has the ability to be a total game changer for humanity if we all actually took it for what it is and applied it in our lives. But so don't take anything personally, and I try not to do that, as I get a lot of no's, or just kind of inauthentic, like fake interests, like, oh yeah, and I'll say, okay, send me some times that work for you, and people never do. So the guests that have done really well on the show, not ironically, when I interviewed Dan Peterson of Flip Switch Social Media, great interview, just really good content. Him and I were really vibing, really on the same page. It was such a fun conversation. I actually had that conversation in my car. I recorded that episode in my car because my mother-in-law was at home watching my daughter, and I have 2 dogs, and as you know, it just gets crazy and loud. And so I sat in my car, and it was like so hot in my car. And as you probably, most of you know, I'm pregnant. So that wasn't like the most enjoyable from that sense, but from an interview point of view, such a good interview. From a results point of view, we had really good results with that one. We've got close to 350 plays on that episode, which, I'm small potatoes. Like, I'm happy with that number, but it's really because of the guest's ability to see the opportunity and run with it. They posted a lot of clips from the interview on their own social media pages. They shared the clips that I posted on my social media. And so it wasn't just this like, okay, I'm going to do this thing and then it's over. And that's really all how you want to look at all of your marketing opportunities. It's like you don't just send out the direct mail piece and call it a day. You don't just throw up the billboard and call it a day. You don't just get your website out there and call it a day. Like there's things that you want to do to try to drive traffic and to create awareness around your efforts. Even if it's as simple as taking a picture of your billboard once it's up and then showing people, hey, look for our billboard on, Route 30 or wherever you are. Small stuff like that helps generate more content, helps generate more awareness, gives people an idea of who you are and what you've been up to. And so kudos, that was episode 16. Kudos to Dan for coming on the show and spending time with me that day and just and for his follow-up and his follow-through post-recording. But yeah, so what's been an interesting thing, I wanted to backtrack a little bit. So when I started the podcast, it was around last year. Maybe it was out of boredom, but mostly it was because I got an idea for the title and I had our album artwork. And so I said, let's go for it. So I contacted Sheila and she was my first episode. And I had this recording. And then I said to my assistant, now what do I do? In terms of technology, when you're not sure what to do, I always ask somebody younger than you because they tend to know more. And she said, you can use SoundCloud as your host. And so I went to SoundCloud and I just figured it out. I uploaded the episode and just kind of poked around with the profile a little bit and got to know the platform and what it could do and how I could broadcast to Apple and Google and what's the other one? Spotify we're on. And then eventually I integrated it also into my website because I realized a lot of people were having trouble with like Apple Podcasts, which may seem weird to you if you're an avid podcast listener. But I know a lot of people were just kind of confused as to how it worked. And so I wanted to make it as simple as possible. And so all the episodes are also on my website where you can just go to veracreative.com/podcasts and listen to them. And then that way you don't need an app or anything on your phone to listen. And from there, and then I just kept, I started out with one every other week. We were doing 2 a month. And thanks to my sister, she actually recruited a lot of guests for me. She's a hairstylist. As you know, hairstylists have a lot of contacts. They're very chatty. They get very close with their customers. And so she has a lot of customers that are small business owners. And they were just really appreciative of the opportunity when I approached them and jumped right on it. And so many of the guests were a result of my sister, and a few were past clients, and some were referrals from previous guests. But over time, like I said, a lot more no's, I think, than yeses. I've definitely reached out to a lot of other people, and that just, it hasn't worked out for whatever reason. And so what happened? I thought something happened, but I can't remember. This is pregnancy brain at its finest right here, people not being able to remember anything. But when the rebrand happened, that's kind of when I bumped it down then to 1 a month. And I would say that's been hard. One of the things I harp on my clients about, and one of the things I pride myself on when I work for them, is my ability to keep them relevant and keep them consistent. So in a sense, I'm kind of disappointed in myself because I'm not really walking my walk there and talking my talk. But, when I dropped down to just 1 a month, I feel like maybe listening, the amount of plays per episode did go down a little bit. I'm not as out in front of people, but at the same time, I didn't want to sacrifice quality for quantity. And so at this time, it just makes sense to do one per month and really work hard on getting those quality guests that have a lot to share, a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge in their field, or even just a lot of life experience, because I feel like nothing prepares you as well as just life experience for being an entrepreneur, and for starting your own business, your own side hustle, and just kind of understanding people and in life in general, I think is a huge advantage. So that's where we're at right now. I didn't do a ton of research. I didn't reach out to a mentor or a super successful podcaster. I didn't, I just dove in. I just decided I was going to do it, and I did it. And some people might think that that's a bad approach. And some people might be like, yeah, that really resonates with me. That's how I operate too. But I'm not. It's weird because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to some things, but not to others. I'm a perfectionist for my clients, that's for sure. But when it comes to myself, I'm just like, I just want to do it. I just want to experience. I just want to try. And so that was really how the podcast got started. I didn't wait. I didn't hesitate. I didn't gather a bunch of information first. I didn't listen to a ton of other people's podcasts. I just, I'm not one to copy per se other people's ideas or, ways of being, if you will. But I started the podcast. We have already went through a rebrand, which I think has been, phenomenal. I just, I loved both names, but I love the V is for Victory. How small businesses overcome big battles. Again, that ties in with the whole hero warrior theme behind the name Vera Creative. And so the tie-in is great. And I have so much fun talking with people and getting to know them and getting to hear their stories. And again, just really diving into all the non-business lessons and that being an entrepreneur has taught them, like all the life lessons or all the life experiences that they then bring into being an entrepreneur, or how they kind of woke up to their idea of starting their own business. And so it's been so super fun so far, and I'm so appreciative of everyone that has come on the show. I want to ask you guys again to continue to share the episode, download the episodes. Every week I do a contest. All you have to do is enter. You'll probably win because not many people enter, but just take a screenshot of an episode, post it to your social media, and tag at Vera Creative. Make sure you're following me on Facebook or Instagram where you're tagging me so that I see it. And then I'll just email you over a $5 Starbucks gift card so your next coffee is on me. So we've done some other good giveaways in the past, like skincare products. One guest was really gracious and gave away, I think it was like $60 worth of skincare products. And we've done CrossFit swag. My CrossFit client gave away, we did a special giveaway for that. But every week, whether there's a podcast that airs or not, we have this, the ongoing coffee contest. So I just ask that you enter that. I ask that you continue to listen, continue to support not just my small businesses, but any small businesses where you live and work. And just know that, we're out there trying our hardest right now to stay afloat. And every like, every share, every positive interaction you have with our brands, it makes a difference. It might not seem like it makes a difference to you, but it does, especially to the business owners, like I was talking about, who know how to take that one review and really use it to their advantage. If somebody writes a review about my business, then I'm going to go on and I'm going to share that review on social media and make sure it just gets even more traction, make sure I respond to that review. So again, that's just kind of one small example, but and then the other thing, aside from liking, sharing, listening, downloading, entering the contest, if you want to hear from somebody, if you have a mentor, or if you have a business, or if you have an idea for a business and it's not even up and running and you just want to come and see where the conversation leads you and takes you, please reach out to me, jill.miller@veracreative.com, and let me know. I would be more than happy to help you, more than happy to feature you on this platform. And let's just keep this thing going. Like, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like I said, I have other ideas for shows and other ideas for sponsorship opportunities that I hope to get up and running. But first things first, we want to continue with our quality guests, and we want to continue with consistency and continue to increase our awareness so that our episodes are getting those big numbers of plays. And then really quick, I want to share with you, like, one of my favorite episodes I want to draw your attention to is episode 11. That was with Roy Worley. Roy is such a funny guy. He is local. I know him from networking here in my hometown. And it was just such a great interview. I love that episode. If you are a SoundCloud user, I actually have that episode spotlighted on my page because I just think there's pure gold in that episode. And if you're a curious person, which I am definitely a curious person, I love learning. I love hearing about things I don't know about. And the voiceover world is definitely something I know nothing about. And so even, the fact that he has like a talent manager, I didn't know that. I thought that was truly interesting. So definitely that was one of my favorite episodes. Along with my holiday gift guide, I'm totally doing that again this Christmas season. I found that to be, I thought that was a cool episode. It was fun for me to do the research. It was fun for me to think of unique gifts that maybe other people hadn't thought of giving. And ironically enough, I think one of my clients must have listened to it because she gifted me something from that episode. And it was one of the best gifts I've ever gotten in my entire life. I love it so much. It was the personal, the massage gun. She got me a Hypervolt, and this thing has been amazing, especially with all the aches and pains with pregnancy. I've been using it non-stop. It's the best thing ever. So that episode is great, and I think it's great to go back to as we come up to holidays like Mother's Day and Father's Day. And if you're looking for gift ideas, that's episode 17, the holiday gift guide. So guys, keep supporting, keep listening. I just want to thank you so much for tuning in what is now once a month to V is for Victory. And again, please like, share, download, and reach out to me if you know someone who would be great for the show.